Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever paused to consider just how easily we hand over our inner peace to the chaos around us? How often do we allow the careless words of others, the traffic, the perceived disrespect, or an unexpected inconvenience to rob us of our clarity, to shake our emotional foundation? Most people live in a constant state of reactivity, caught in an endless loop of anger, frustration, and emotional volatility. But what if I told you that every time you give into that reactive state, you are strengthening a neural pathway, carving a groove deeper into the brain that makes emotional reactivity your default operating mode? The mind is not just powerful, it is the architect of your reality. Every thought you entertain becomes a building block of your inner world. And the most profound shift you can make is realizing that the external world does not dictate your emotions. Your interpretation of it does. Emotional freedom begins when you stop being a victim of your triggers and start becoming the master of your response. It starts when you recognize that peace is not something to be found, it is something to be cultivated within. Let's talk about the science behind this. Anger and irritation aren't caused by what happens around you. They're born from how you process what happens. They're the result of patterns, deeply rooted mental and emotional habits that you've rehearsed for years, sometimes decades. The way you think determines the way you feel, and most people are trapped in a feedback loop. External event, internal interpretation, emotional reaction, repeat. But what if you interrupted that loop? What if you could train your brain to respond differently? You can, and it starts with awareness. The moment you begin to observe your own emotional patterns without judgment is the moment you reclaim your power. That's when you stop reacting unconsciously and start responding with intention. Understand this. The trigger is not the problem. The response is. You've been conditioned by past experiences, by culture, by your upbringing to interpret disrespect or inconvenience as a threat, and the body responds accordingly. Adrenaline, tension, racing thoughts. But here's the truth: you are not your programming. You are not your past. You are not your automatic reactions. You are the conscious observer. And that awareness is the beginning of transformation. We are wired for survival, not serenity. The brain has evolved to detect threats, to react, to defend. That's great when you're in danger, but when your brain is treating a rude comment like a lion attack, it's time to update the system. That's where neuroplasticity comes in. Your brain is not fixed. It can be rewired. You can literally create new neural pathways, new default settings. Instead of reacting with anger, you can condition yourself to pause, to breathe, to choose a higher response. But like any skill, it requires repetition, intention, discipline. Let's make this practical. The first step is catching the emotion before it takes over. That's where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness is not some vague, abstract idea, it's a practice. It's the ability to be present with your thoughts and feelings without becoming them. When you feel anger rise, mindfulness gives you the space to witness it, to say, there's the anger, instead of becoming the anger. That space between the stimulus and your response is where your power lives. That space is the training ground for emotional mastery. And it's not just about watching your thoughts, it's about questioning them. What am I believing right now that's making me angry? Is it true? Is it helpful? Most of the time, anger is based on an unconscious belief that people should behave a certain way, that life should go according to your plan. When reality doesn't match your expectations, you suffer. But here's the shift. Stop trying to control what you cannot control: others, outcomes, the past, and start mastering what you can: your mind, your perception, your energy. Rewiring your brain is not an event, it's a lifestyle. It's waking up every day and choosing to be intentional about your thoughts, choosing to notice the old pattern, and choosing again. That's how transformation happens. Not all at once, but through consistent practice. When you replace the thought, "I have to be angry when disrespected," with, "I choose peace because I value my power," you begin to recondition the brain. And repetition is what makes it stick. Over time, calm becomes your new default. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Now, let's address a crucial truth. No one can make you angry. No one can get under your skin unless you let them. That belief that others control your emotions is a lie that keeps you stuck. It makes you a puppet to the world's chaos. But when you take full ownership of your emotional state, everything changes. You no longer react just because someone said something offensive. You no longer rise to every provocation. You begin to see that what someone else does is a reflection of them, not a command for you to feel a certain way. And when you grasp that truth, not just intellectually, but emotionally, you become untouchable, unshakable. You will still face challenges. People will still disappoint you. Life will still be unpredictable. But when you've trained your mind, those moments no longer control you. You will feel the emotion rise and you will let it pass. You will hear the insult and you will stay composed. Not because you're suppressing your feelings, but because you've evolved beyond automatic reaction. Because your peace matters more than your pride. Because your vision matters more than your ego. This is emotional mastery, not the absence of emotion, but the presence of awareness. Not the denial of anger, but the decision not to be ruled by it. Emotional mastery doesn't mean you don't feel, it means you feel deeply, but you respond consciously. It's a higher level of living, and anyone can reach it with discipline, with intention, and with practice. So today, I challenge you to begin that journey, to watch your thoughts like a hawk, to question the beliefs that fuel your reactivity, to choose the higher response, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That's how you build new neural pathways. That's how you become mentally and emotionally free. And remember this, peace is not passive. It's a choice, a practice, a strength. It is not the absence of challenge, it's your ability to remain centered in the midst of it. You are not here to be ruled by your emotions. You are here to master them, to lead yourself, to lead others, to live from a place of grounded power. The world doesn't need more people who react. It needs more people who respond with wisdom, and that begins with you. Master your mind, master your emotions, and you will master your life. Mindfulness is not just about awareness. It's also about cultivating compassion first for ourselves, and then for others. When we practice mindfulness, we become more attuned to the shared human experience. We begin to see that everyone is carrying burdens, fears, insecurities, and wounds that influence how they behave. With this awareness, we stop taking things so personally. We understand that much of what people do or say stems from their own inner struggles, not as an attack on us. This insight creates a shift from seeing others as threats or sources of irritation to seeing them as fellow humans on a difficult path. It becomes easier to let go of judgment and approach people with empathy rather than resentment. Mindfulness doesn't just calm the mind, it opens the heart. Instead of reacting with defensiveness or frustration, we learn to respond with compassion and clarity, grounded in the recognition that everyone is doing the best they can with the tools they have. This compassionate presence also lays the foundation for emotional resilience. The more we observe our thoughts and feelings without attachment, the less power those emotions have over us. We become more anchored in the present moment and less swept away by every surge of anger or irritation. Mindfulness teaches us that emotions, no matter how intense, are temporary. They rise, peak, and eventually pass. We don't have to suppress them, nor do we have to act on them. We simply notice them, allow them, and let them move through us. In doing so, we become less reactive and more balanced. We gain the ability to ride out emotional storms without losing ourselves in them. Rather than resisting anger or fearing it, we learn to sit with it, understand its roots, and allow it to dissolve in its own time. This is emotional mastery, not the absence of feeling, but the ability to remain centered through it. With consistent practice, mindfulness begins to reshape our entire inner world. We develop an inner stillness that's no longer disturbed by every external disruption. We stop depending on circumstances or people to feel peaceful, because we've found that peace within ourselves. We no longer feel the need to control everything or everyone around us. Instead, we become intentional. We respond instead of react. We choose awareness over autopilot, compassion over defensiveness, and calm over chaos. This is the real power of mindfulness. It gives us back control of our inner world. It empowers us to meet life's challenges with presence, clarity, and emotional sovereignty. But even with mindfulness, one of the greatest obstacles to inner peace is our attachment to expectations. Expectations are mental blueprints. We create assumptions about how people should act, how events should unfold, and how the world should operate in alignment with our desires. And while it's natural to have preferences, rigid expectations often set us up for emotional suffering. When reality fails to match our mental model, we feel betrayed, frustrated, or even enraged. This gap between expectation and reality is the birthplace of much of our anger and disappointment. The first step in releasing this cycle is to recognize that expectations are often illusions of control. We expect others to behave in ways that align with our values or needs, forgetting that they are driven by their own conditioning, experiences, and limitations. We expect life to unfold smoothly, forgetting that unpredictability is its very nature. When we cling to expectations, we make our peace dependent on things we cannot control. And when those expectations are inevitably unmet, we suffer not because of what happened, but because of how we believed it should have happened. Letting go of expectations is not about giving up or settling for less. It's about reclaiming your emotional freedom. It's about shifting from how things should be to how things are. This doesn't mean you stop caring or stop setting healthy boundaries. It means you stop outsourcing your peace to people and events beyond your control. You begin to anchor yourself in acceptance, in presence, and in your own capacity to respond with grace, regardless of the outcome. In doing so, you no longer ride the emotional roller coaster of unmet demands. You walk your path with equanimity and strength. A common example of this is the expectation that others should treat us the way we want to be treated. We expect kindness, consideration, and fairness. And when people fail to meet these standards, we take it as a personal affront. But here's the truth. Expecting others to live by our values is a recipe for chronic disappointment. When we release that expectation, we stop handing our emotional well-being to others. We take back our power. Instead of waiting for someone else to treat us right, we treat ourselves right. We show up for ourselves with integrity and kindness, regardless of how others behave. This is emotional maturity, choosing peace over the illusion of control. Another liberating realization is that not everything is personal. People's behavior often reflects their own pain, patterns, or unconscious habits. It's not a reflection of our worth. When we internalize this, we stop feeling wounded by every insult, slight, or rejection. We see others' actions for what they are, expressions of their inner state, not accurate judgments of us. With this detachment, we maintain our center. We don't let the storms of others sweep us away. We become immune to offense because we no longer tie our value to others' behavior. Life itself, too, defies expectation. Plans fall apart. Relationships change. Successes come slowly or in ways we didn't predict. Clinging to how things should be only creates tension. But when we accept life as a series of unfolding moments, each with its own lesson, gift, or challenge, we become more adaptable. We meet change with curiosity instead of resistance. We stop demanding certainty and begin flowing with life as it is, not as we wish it to be. Letting go of expectations also means embracing the unknown. Many of us set expectations as a way to feel safe, to avoid the discomfort of uncertainty. But the truth is, uncertainty is a fundamental part of life. Trying to predict or control every outcome leads to stress, anxiety, and disappointment. When we surrender that need and allow ourselves to trust the process, we become more flexible and less reactive. We stop fighting the current and begin to move with it. We learn to let life surprise us, knowing that we can handle whatever comes. And in doing so, we cultivate gratitude. Without the constant burden of unmet expectations, we begin to appreciate life as it is. We notice what's working. We find joy in the small moments. We stop looking for what's missing and start honoring what's present. Gratitude becomes our natural state, and from that place, anger and frustration lose their grip. We no longer demand perfection from the world, we welcome it with an open heart. And finally, we come to one of the most powerful acts of emotional liberation: forgiveness. Forgiveness is not a favor you do for others. It's a gift you give yourself. Holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. It keeps you tethered to past pain, replaying hurtful moments over and over again in your mind. But forgiveness is the act of cutting that cord. It's saying, I will no longer let this wound define me or control my peace. Forgiveness is not about excusing the wrong. It's about refusing to be held hostage by it. Often, we hold on to anger, thinking we are protecting ourselves, standing strong. But in truth, we are only prolonging our own suffering. Every time we revisit the offense, we reopen the emotional wound. Forgiveness allows that wound to close. It allows healing to begin. It does not require an apology or reconciliation. It requires a decision, one rooted in your own freedom. You choose peace over punishment. You choose release over revenge. This doesn't make you weak, it makes you powerful. True forgiveness takes strength. It takes courage to let go of the need to be right, to release the desire for revenge, to walk away from the past with grace. But when you do, you reclaim your joy. You become free not just from the person who hurt you, but from the anger and pain that's been weighing you down. Forgiveness isn't about them. It's about you. It's about choosing to be free. When you choose to forgive, you are taking full command of your emotional state and sending a powerful message. No one else's behavior will control how you feel. Forgiveness is not about excusing someone's actions or pretending the hurt never happened. It is about releasing the emotional grip those actions have on you. Holding on to anger and resentment is like carrying a heavy burden, one that weighs on your mind, your body, and your spirit. That weight takes a toll. Chronic anger can manifest as muscle tension, fatigue, headaches, high blood pressure, and even long-term health issues. Emotional pain that is not processed and released will find its way into the body. Forgiveness is the release valve. It is the decision to let go, not for the other person, but for your own peace. It frees you from the destructive cycle of reliving the pain, and in doing so, it begins to restore balance emotionally and physically. When you forgive, you are clearing space within yourself for healing to begin. It is one of the most powerful acts of self-care. But forgiveness is not only about healing past wounds, it is essential for creating a future that is not defined by them. When anger and resentment dominate your internal world, your focus remains fixed on what was done to you. You become emotionally tethered to a moment in time, unable to move beyond it. This attachment robs you of your presence and distracts you from the life unfolding in front of you. You may find yourself stuck mentally replaying past conversations, overanalyzing betrayals, or anticipating future offenses. That mental and emotional energy is being drained by events you can no longer change. Forgiveness cuts the cord. It allows you to take back that energy and redirect it toward what matters now: your goals, your growth, your peace. It is a conscious choice to stop giving your power to the past. With each act of forgiveness, you free yourself to move forward, to reclaim your attention, and to open up to new possibilities, relationships, and experiences. Forgiveness clears the emotional debris that blocks your path and allows you to move forward with clarity, strength, and hope. Letting go of anger through forgiveness is also a critical step in building stronger, more meaningful relationships. When we hold on to past hurt, we carry it into future interactions, whether we intend to or not. We become guarded, suspicious, quick to assume negative intent. We may lash out, withdraw emotionally, or sabotage potential connections. We project our unresolved pain onto others, interpreting their words or actions through the lens of old wounds. This creates disconnection, misunderstanding, and mistrust. But forgiveness dissolves these emotional walls. It softens the heart and restores your capacity for empathy and compassion. It enables you to see others more clearly without the distortion of resentment. When you forgive, you allow people to show up in your life without being judged for someone else's mistakes. You engage from a place of openness rather than fear. Forgiveness also models emotional maturity and creates space for honest communication. It gives others permission to be human and gives you the freedom to relate without dragging the past into the present. It is the foundation upon which deep, respectful, and enduring relationships are built. Still, it's important to understand that forgiveness is not a single decision, it is a repeated practice. You may forgive today and still feel the sting of the memory tomorrow. That does not mean you have failed. It means you are human. Emotional wounds, like physical ones, take time to heal. And just as a wound may reopen before it fully closes, emotional pain can resurface as you grow and revisit old experiences from a new perspective. The process of forgiveness is ongoing. It is the daily decision to choose healing over bitterness, to choose peace over pain. And with each repetition, the burden becomes lighter, and the path becomes clearer. You begin to detach from the pain and reconnect with your power. Forgiveness, practiced consistently, becomes a gateway to peace, not just in relation to others, but within yourself. Taking responsibility for your emotions is one of the most powerful transformations you can undergo on the path to emotional mastery. It begins with a radical shift in awareness, recognizing that your emotional state is not dictated by what happens to you, but by how you interpret and respond to what happens. Most people believe that their feelings are reactions to external events. If someone cuts them off in traffic, they feel disrespected. If someone speaks harshly, they feel hurt or angry. This perspective is common, but it is deeply disempowering. It places your inner peace in the hands of other people and random circumstances. It says, I can only feel okay if others treat me the way I want to be treated, but that kind of emotional dependency is fragile, unstable, and unsustainable. People are unpredictable. Situations change. If your peace depends on external order, you will always be on edge. The truth is, no one can make you feel anything without your participation. Your emotions are not created by what others do, they are created by how you interpret what others do. If someone insults you, it is not the insult itself that hurts. It is the meaning you attach to it, the belief that it reflects something true about you, or the fear that others will believe it. But if you view the insult as a reflection of the other person's ignorance, insecurity, or pain, the emotional charge disappears. You remain calm, composed, unshaken. The difference lies not in what was said, but in how you chose to interpret it. And this is the key. You are the gatekeeper of your emotional world. You decide what enters and what takes root. Taking responsibility for your emotions means no longer outsourcing your peace to the behavior of others. It means understanding that every emotional response you have is a product of your internal narratives, your beliefs, assumptions, expectations, and past experiences. And once you see that, you gain the power to change it. You stop being reactive and start becoming intentional. You stop demanding that others behave differently so you can feel better, and instead start changing your own mindset, perspective, and emotional patterns. This is the foundation of unshakable inner strength. But that shift also requires you to let go of the victim identity. Many people unconsciously adopt the role of the victim, believing that life is happening to them and that they are helpless in the face of others' behavior. They may constantly replay grievances, seek validation for their pain, or blame others for how they feel. But as long as you see yourself as a victim, you give away your power. You remain trapped in a cycle of powerlessness and emotional reactivity. Taking responsibility means reclaiming that power. It means refusing to let anyone else dictate your inner experience. It means saying, I may not control what they do, but I always control how I respond. That shift in mindset is what breaks the chains of anger, resentment, and emotional instability. Self-awareness is essential in this process. You must become conscious of your emotional triggers and the beliefs driving them. Ask yourself, why does this situation bother me? What fear or belief is being activated? Is this truly about what's happening now? Or is it about something unresolved within me? The more deeply you understand your emotional reactions, the more power you have to change them. And with that understanding must come self-compassion. Do not judge yourself for feeling angry, hurt, or upset. Emotions are not weaknesses, they are signals. They reveal what matters to you, where you are still healing, and what you need to grow. Treat yourself with kindness. Acknowledge your feelings without being consumed by them. Create space for them without letting them dictate your actions. Ultimately, emotional responsibility is about becoming the conscious creator of your inner world. It means no longer blaming, no longer reacting out of habit. It means choosing, again and again, to take ownership of your peace, your perspective, and your power. It is the daily discipline of responding with intention, regardless of how others behave. And when you do this consistently, something extraordinary happens. You become unshakable. You are no longer at the mercy of other people's moods or mistakes. You no longer rise and fall based on external events. You become stable, grounded, and inwardly free. This is what it means to master your emotional state. This is how you reach the point where no one, no matter what they say or do, can make you angry or bothered again. Not because the world is perfect, but because you are no longer giving your peace away.